Ryan hung up and called Shorty, who had set up a communication channel for emergencies. He asked her to reroute one of her bathyspheres to send a human-sized cat to France. Shorty panicked, asking if they were being hunted, but Ryan said not yet and that it was for a friend in need. She agreed to help. Ryan warned her to be cautious since Vulcan might be after them soon and asked how long it would take to recreate the armor from the designs he had given her. Shorty said it was too early to test and she was unsure, but Ryan said they wouldn't have much time because everything was about to collapse. Shorty promised to do what she could and said she was coming. Ryan thanked her and hung up. Meanwhile, Adam Cat changed from his hospital clothes into his usual costume and put on his mask. Felix, now wearing a dart bandolier, asked why France. Ryan explained that many people in France owed him favors, which he intended to cash in. His initial plan had been to send Adam Cat to Len's base, but the risk of Augustus attacking the commie cave was too great. The courier couldn't endanger Shorty or the children. He hoped Felix liked Camus. Felix asked whom Ryan meant, revealing his lack of cultural knowledge, and inquired if they would take Ryan's car. Ryan realized he had left his Plymouth Fury with Len and decided they would take the Pandamobile instead, sensing the day was about to worsen. The Pandamobile was a Dynamis, made copy of a second-generation Fiat covered in white and black fur to mimic an actual panda. It was comfortable and cute, with a doll dangling from the rear view mirror, but Ryan found it unimaginative and would not have touched it without the keys. Holding the steering wheel felt wrong to him. Ryan remarked he felt like he was cheating on his Plymouth Fury with a dirty whore, filled with regrets. Adam Cat told him to shut up and keep driving while repeatedly checking the rear view mirror for any sign of Pluto. They had reached the city's suburbs and were approaching an overpass where great concrete pillars lifted the highway above shacks inhabited by the city's poorest residents. Although Dynamis had maintained the highway's functionality, they had neglected the area below it. The sun was setting, and there was no sign of the Augusti yet. If all went well, they would reach the rendezvous point with Len near the Amalfi coast by nightfall. Ryan reminded Felix that he had prevented them from taking a better car. He had tried to borrow the nearest sports car, but Kitten was too nice to allow it. Felix pointed out that Ryan's life was on the line too, as Augustus would target anyone helping him. Felix apologized for snapping and appreciated Ryan's help. The courier teased Felix about whether he had fallen for him yet, just as Ryan's phone rang. It was Lucky Girl, who seemed confused to have the handsome courier on the line, stating she had been trying to reach Felix because her power was never wrong. Ryan informed her that Felix was right next to him, begging for protection. Fortuna praised Ryan as the perfect gentleman for anticipating her wishes and asked him to hand the phone to Felix. Felix refused the phone, but Ryan dangled it in front of him. Before Ryan could press further, the traffic light above them detached from its pole and threatened to fall on the Pandamobile. Ryan activated his power, looked out the window, and skillfully drove out of the way as time resumed. The traffic light crashed and shattered. Ryan complained about public service, and Adam Cat shoved the phone against Felix's ear. Felix tried to stop the conversation but heard Fortuna berating him on the other end. He confirmed he was alive but refused to reveal his location. Ryan tried to relax but had to swerve at the last second to dodge a car coming from the right. He complained about the crazy driving in New Rome but was relieved he could stop time. Adam Cat tensed and said it wasn't an accident, asking if Ryan could feel the cold. Ryan looked in the rearview mirror but saw nothing unusual and asked how far her range extended. Felix said he didn't know, but if he could feel the effects, then she could track them. Ryan told Fortuna he would call her back and hung up, then turned toward the highway. The Pandamobile climbed onto the giant highway and left New Rome, passing over lush countryside with woods, country roads, and isolated houses. Ryan had the road mostly to himself except for a few diesel vehicles. Ryan asked Felix if Pluto could track people with her power, noting that Pluto hadn't noticed she had marked Ryan until they met in a previous loop. Felix confirmed that once Pluto marked a target and activated her curse, it created a sympathetic link between them, strengthening with proximity. Felix admitted he didn't know everything about her ability but had learned that much. If Pluto's range extended so far and she could sense her targets, they had no way to surprise her. Felix then looked through his window and gasped. Ryan froze time and looked through Adam Cat's window. A familiar black Lamborghini moved on the road below the highway, between the woods, a few hundred meters from the Pandamobile. Two people on a motorcycle escorted the car, a gaunt, masculine figure dressed in a black bodysuit covering him head to toe, and a woman in a red leather jacket with crimson hair flowing from her biker helmet, carrying a submachine gun. The road they followed led back to the highway at a junction roughly a kilometer ahead. Ryan warned Felix to put on his belt and prepared to accelerate as time resumed. The courier smashed the accelerator, and the Pandamobile sped up, hoping to reach maximum speed and beat their pursuers to the junction. Felix identified the pursuers as the Vamp and Night Terror, noting the speedometer climbed climbing to 120 and rising. Ryan asked if the Pandamobile could go faster than a Lamborghini. Felix said no, Pluto was driving a Lamborghini Gallardo, which could go twice as fast as the Pandamobile, which maxed out at 150 kilometers per hour. Felix recalled Night Terror was the blue genome of the Killer 7, activating his power in darkness. Ryan noted that the timing was appropriate, and the vamp used pheromones to make people do stupid things or kill them on touch. Adam Cat lamented that they had sent the one genome he couldn't blow up through direct contact. He noticed the pursuers accelerating, aware they knew they had been spotted. The Pandamobile passed the road junction first and reached its maximum speed, but Ryan saw the black Lamborghini and its escort pursuing them in the rearview mirror. Pluto had engaged Ryan in a highway car chase, unaware of whom she was dealing with. Ryan encouraged Felix to go get them. Felix opened his window and threw an explosive dart at their pursuers with precise dexterity. Night Terror's motorcycle dodged the attack, but the projectile exploded catastrophically in front of the Lamborghini, sending dust everywhere. A truck beside the Pandamobile suddenly veered off course, one wheel breaking down. Using skills honed through countless stunts and selective use of his time, the courier dodged the falling vehicle as it left the highway. Ryan mocked the truck's failure, but immediately had to avoid a pickup suffering the same problem. Checking the Pandamobile, Ryan realized their brakes no longer worked. Felix warned that the situation would worsen as Pluto drew closer. Pluto's Lamborghini emerged from the dust cloud unharmed, and she raised her submachine gun at the Pandamobile. Ryan and Felix ducked as a volley of bullets shattered the rear windows and impacted the windshield. One glass shard veered toward Adam Cat's throat, but the courier stopped time, grabbed the shard, and threw it out once time resumed. Ryan asked if Pluto had any weaknesses while watching the road. Felix said she could only target one person at a time and threw another dart at Night Terror's motorcycle, which dodged it but was prevented from aiming. Ryan deduced Pluto had directed her power at Adam Cat, which would have been useful if they weren't in the same car. Adam Cat explained that Pluto's effect grew stronger with physical proximity, so increasing distance would weaken it. Felix grimly stated that if Pluto got within 10 meters, it would cause a heart attack. Ryan hoped it would take longer. Ryan considered the nature of Yellow Genome's powers, which warped reality by turning imaginary concepts into physical laws. Pluto's power made death inevitable, but the purple world belonged to the violet genome. Ryan could break Pluto's hold on causality by selectively stopping time and doubted Pluto controlled the calamities she caused, otherwise, their car would have exploded already. Ryan declared Pluto was their final destination. Felix questioned him as Night Terror closed the gap and Pluto prepared another volley. Ryan veered off to avoid a deer on the highway, remarking that heroes lived at the end of the story, though they died in the sequel. Adam Cat's explosions prevented Pluto from aiming and forced her car to slow, but the highway trembled under structural damage amplified by Cruella's ability. One of the pillars supporting the highway collapsed, creating a large hole between two halves of the road at different heights. Ryan told the others to hold tight as the Pandamobile became an unstoppable missile aimed at the higher side of the road. He froze time to calculate the angle, then made the jump when time resumed. The Pandamobile soared gracefully over the gap, Ryan adjusting its movements for a perfect landing and striking a confident pose. The vehicle landed with a loud thump, Felix nearly jumping as the wheels strained. Night Terror stopped his motorcycle just before the hole, while Pluto's Lamborghini accelerated, made the jump, and gained ground rapidly. Ryan felt a chill as Pluto's presence loomed. His heartbeat quickened, his vision blurred, and his fingers twitched under the pressure of her power. He snarled at Felix to hit her, but Felix panicked, struggling to find more darts. Ryan told Felix to hold the wheel as he kicked his door open, grabbed a revolver, and rose halfway out of the car. While Felix struggled to keep the Pandamobile on track, Ryan froze time and aimed at the Lamborghini, declaring his immortality. He fired multiple shots at the windshield, engine, and wheels, but almost all bounced off. Ryan raged at the bulletproof car as he took back the wheel and closed his door. Smoke and flames rose from the Pandamobile's hood. The calamities targeted the engine. Felix shouted for Ryan to leave him and run, grabbing the doll from the rear view mirror to throw as a grenade. Ryan refused, insisting he needed to think. A voice behind Ryan called his name, Cesare. Ryan froze in fear, refusing to look back. In the rear view mirror, he saw Bloodstream sitting at the back, a monstrous human-shaped blob of blood, exactly as in Ryan's memory. Ryan whispered in primal fear that Bloodstream was dead. Because Bloodstream accused Ryan of killing him, he lunged at Ryan's throat, choking him as he had in Ryan's childhood. Ryan lost his breath and control of the steering wheel. Felix panicked and abandoned his plan to throw the doll, trying instead to regain control of the car, but without brakes, an intact engine, or a skilled driver, the Pandamobile veered off course. The car crashed through the guardrail and fell from the highway, Felix screamed in horror as the Pandamobile prepared to crash into the woods below. Ryan activated his time, stop instinctively, freezing the car a few meters above the ground and interrupting the fall. Bloodstream's hold vanished along with his ghost, though the pain in Ryan's neck remained. Acting on instinct, Ryan kicked open the car door, grabbed the frozen Felix, and leapt out, both rolling on the soft grass a few meters away. When time resumed, the Pandamobile hit the ground and exploded in a fiery detonation, smoke and fumes rising from the wreckage. Bloodstream was nowhere to be found. He had never been there at all. Ryan croaked that it was an illusion, one that could cause harm. Felix pointed toward the highway above, where a Lamborghini had stopped at the edge, and Pluto and Sparrow stepped out to inspect the wreckage. Ryan and Felix immediately fled into the woods. Sparrow noticed them and unleashed a crimson beam, setting a tree on fire, but the two heroes managed to escape into the darkness. The hunt had only just begun. The Pandamobile was exactly what Ryan expected, a Genomes made copy of a second-generation Fiat covered in white and black fur to mimic a panda. It was comfortable and cute, with a doll dangling from the rear view mirror, a product of corporate laziness. If they hadn't given him the keys beforehand, Ryan wouldn't have touched the vehicle. Even putting his hands on the wheel felt wrong. Ryan joked about feeling like he was cheating on his long-suffering wife with a dirty whore, thinking fondly of his Plymouth Fury, filled with regrets and anguish. Adam Cat told him to shut up and keep driving, repeatedly checking the rear view mirror for any sign of Pluto. They had reached the city's suburbs and would soon approach an overpass where great concrete pillars lifted the highway above the road, looming over shacks inhabited by the city's poorest residents. Genomes had maintained the highway but neglected the area below it. The sun was setting, and there was no sign of the Augusti yet. If all went well, they would reach the rendezvous point with Len near the Amalfi Coast at nightfall. Ryan reminded Felix that he was the one who had prevented them from taking a better car, having tried to borrow a nearby sports car, but Kitten was too nice to allow it. Felix sighed, acknowledging that Augustus would target anyone who helped him, and apologized for snapping at Ryan. Ryan teased Felix about whether he had fallen for him yet, just as his phone started ringing. It was Lucky Girl. Adam Cat gruffly reminded Ryan not to call while driving, but Ryan answered as they approached a traffic light. Ryan greeted Fortuna playfully, but she seemed confused to be speaking to him instead of Felix, as her power never aired. Ryan explained that Felix was right next to him, begging for protection. Fortuna praised Ryan for anticipating her wishes and demanded that he hand the phone to Felix. Ryan dangled the phone in front of Felix, who refused to take it. Suddenly, the traffic light separated from its pole and threatened to fall on the Pandamobile. Ryan activated his power, looked out the window, and skillfully drove out of the way when time resumed. The traffic light crashed and shattered on the ground. Ryan handed the phone to Felix, who complained until he heard Fortuna berating him on the other end. Felix confirmed he was alive but refused to reveal his location. Ryan tried to relax but had to veer at the last second to dodge a car coming from his right. He complained about New Rome's dangerous traffic but noted that at least he could stop time. Adam Cat tensed and said it wasn't an accident, asking Ryan if he could feel the cold. Ryan asked if it was Fortuna and looked in the rearview mirror but saw nothing unusual. Felix explained that once she marked a target and activated her curse, it created a sympathetic link, and the closer she was, the stronger her power. If Pluto's range extended so far, they had no way to surprise her. Felix gasped and pointed out a familiar black Lamborghini moving on the road below the highway between the woods, a few hundred meters from the Pandamobile. Two people on a motorcycle escorted the car, a gaunt man in a black bodysuit and a woman in a red leather jacket with crimson hair flowing from her biker helmet, carrying a submachine gun. The road they followed led back to the highway at a junction roughly a kilometer ahead. Ryan warned Kitten to put on her belt as he smashed the accelerator, the Pandamobile speeding up to beat their pursuers to the road junction. Felix identified the pursuers as the Vamp and Night Terror and questioned whether the car could go faster than a Lamborghini as the speedometer climbed past 120. Pluto drove a Lamborghini Gallardo, capable of reaching twice the speed of the Pandamobile, which could only manage a maximum of 150 kilometers per hour. He remarked that Night Terror's power activated in darkness, confirming Ryan's assumption that it operated during the night. The Vamp, Pluto explained, used pheromones to manipulate people into doing foolish things or even killing them on contact. Adam Cat realized they had been sent the one genome he couldn't destroy through direct contact. He noticed their pursuers accelerating, indicating they were aware of being spotted. The Pandamobile reached the road junction first and hit its maximum speed, but Ryan saw in the rear view mirror that the black Lamborghini and its escort continued the chase. Pluto had initiated a highway pursuit, unaware of who she was up against. Felix opened his window and threw an explosive dart with precision, which detonated in front of the Lamborghini, creating a dust cloud. Night Terror's motorcycle narrowly dodged the blast. A truck beside the Pandamobile suddenly swerved, one of its wheels breaking down. The courier, using his stunt skills and selective time, avoided the falling vehicle. Ryan mocked the truck but immediately had to evade a pickup truck suffering the same fate. He checked the Pandamobile and discovered the brakes were no longer functional. Felix warned that the situation would worsen as Pluto closed in. The Lamborghini emerged from the dust unharmed, and the Vamp raised her submachine gun, prompting Ryan and Felix to duck as bullets shattered the Pandamobile's rear windows and windshield. A glass shard veered toward Adam Cat's throat, but he stopped time, caught the shard, and threw it out once time resumed. Ryan asked if Pluto had any weaknesses. Felix suggested she could only target one person at a time and threw another dart at Night Terror's motorcycle, which skillfully dodged it but was prevented from aiming. From the glass shard incident, Ryan inferred Pluto had focused her power on Adam Cat, which would have been advantageous if they were not in the same vehicle. Adam Cat explained that Pluto's power increased with proximity and weakened with distance, hoping that once they were far enough, their brakes might function again. Felix grimly noted that if Pluto got within 10 meters, it would cause a heart attack.